Welcome, everyone, to Music Junkies, a podcast about people sharing extraordinary stories about how music has impacted their lives.
Welcome, everyone, to Music Junkies. I am your host, Annette, and our guest today, it's so crazy, right? Brent Tyler. I don't know if you know this or not, but my husband's name's Tyler.
Oh.
And my brother-in-law's name's Brent.
Good names. I like it.
So it's kind of crazy.
I bet you didn't know that Tyler's my middle name.
It is?
Yeah.
So it's Brent Tyler Tyler?
It was Brent Tyler Laycock, which is my natural father's name. And then that got erased. And so I legally changed it to Tyler when my son was born.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wow. So you like Tylers?
Well, I'm starting a whole new line of Tylers. Yeah.
You sure are.
Yeah.
So before we get started, I wanted to ask you, how was your experience putting together your playlist?
It was good. It was like trying to decide if it was songs that are my favorite songs to listen to or favorite songs that are most influential.
Yeah.
And those are two different playlists. So I kind of chose more songs that have had an impact on me, more influenced me either through music or whatever it is that I was doing. So that's the list that I created for you.
Yeah, I love it. So how would you describe your playlist to somebody if they're looking at it?
I mean, obviously there's some classics where I think a lot of people that are, what are we, Generation X?
I don't even know.
I was born in 75.
Oh, me too.
Gen X.
Gen X.
I think we're Gen Xers. Discovering music that your parents listened to in the 60s and 70s and stuff. So there's definitely some of that stuff, but then there's stuff that, going into a musical era like the 90s, which was a huge shift in music genres, and how that influenced me. And also when I started playing music for a living. So I'd say, it's definitely on the older side. I feel like as I play music, I don't gravitate to wanting to learn new songs. I feel like every year I get older, I want to learn an older song, or more relate to that more kind of thing.
I love that though.
So this playlist, I wouldn't say is contemporary 2021. There's no Miley Cyrus or
no 90s jam
on there or anything.
Some
like
Backstreet Boys or anything like that. Sorry, Chad, it's not on here.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump right in and start with your first song. All right, this is
Martin Sexton.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Great acoustic. So why do you love that song so much?
Martin Sexton's like my hero of all heroes.
Oh,
like
wow.
If I had to pick one songwriter that's influenced me the most, it's him. I had an opportunity. I've seen him live probably 25 times.
No way.
I got a chance to open for him here in Calgary.
Wow.
And built a little friendship with him. My wife even got him to wish me happy birthday. He sent me a video to wish me happy birthday last year on my 45th. But yeah, I just about, maybe you can see it on the camera for those of you that are watching, but I just about cut my thumb off washing a wine glass. So I used to be able to like hold a guitar pick, and I used to play a lot of Dave Matthews tunes, which you'll probably get in one of the other songs. And then I lost the ability to feel the end of my thumb or to bend my thumb.
Oh.
So I can't hold a guitar pick anymore because it just falls out of my hand. So I kind of had to adapt how I played guitar. And I used to just go see Martin, and he just had this right hand that he could just do things that were effortless on the guitar. And I was like, I want to be able to do that. So I just like studied him incessantly. And this is before YouTube was really popular.
Yeah.
So you couldn't just like watch a video and watch his
Learn
hand.
how
You had
to
to go to a show and literally like take notes while you're in the concert. And one of the best compliments I've ever received as a musician was I was opening for him at the Central United Church, downtown Calgary, and sold out show, and got to have dinner and hang out with him beforehand and do sound check with him. And it was awesome. You meet your hero and you hope that they're awesome. And
yes.
He was like above and beyond.
Oh, that's so good.
And he laughed at all my jokes. And,
He's probably scared of you. How tall is he?
No. Yeah, he's a little dude too.
He's probably like, seriously,
like
sure
5'8".
you can come backstage.
No, actually, when we were walking out, I was helping him with his guitar out of it to go on stage to do sound check. And he's walking behind me. He's like, "Sir, what'd you say your name was?" And I was like, "Brent Tyler." He's like, "Thank God they found you." And I was like, "What? What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, I specifically asked the promoters of the show to find me the tallest musician in Alberta, and thank God they found you." And I was like, what a cool way to address how tall I am.
That's awesome.
You know, rather than just, blurting it out kind of thing. But anyways, at the end of my show, I opened the show and played one of the best shows I'd played. And I went up to the green room afterwards and he's like, "Dude, incredible show." And I was like, "Oh, did you listen?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I went up in the rafters and I watched your whole show." He's like,
"Oh, cool.
And you were doing this thing with your right hand, this strumming pattern. I was trying to watch you and I couldn't figure out how you were doing it." And I was like, "Are you shitting me? Like, I've been fucking trying to master your right hand for like the last 20 years. And you just gave me that compliment." It's like the best compliment you could give a guitar player, that they can't quite figure out what you're doing on the guitar. So yeah, that song was one of the first songs I ever learned of his. And just, he's just, this is a guy that started out, singing in the subway stations in Boston and New York, and got discovered like back in the 80s when you could get discovered. That doesn't really happen the same way anymore.
It's like forced on you now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if you have enough money. And so he gets discovered and gets signed to a record contract, puts out a couple records, and then basically tears up the contract and says, "I want to be an independent," and spends his whole career as an independent touring incessantly because he loves performing and he loves connecting with the audience. And that was always my thing. It was like, fame was never really important to me. I'm already famous. Like, I'm fucking 7 feet tall. I walk into a room and everybody's like, "Oh, look at the tall dude."
Tall guy.
Yeah, so fame wasn't really anything I was really chasing, kind of thing. So I just related to him a lot in terms of his journey and the types of songs. These really earnest songs.
When did you start playing guitar? How old were you?
I was about 8, 9 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what made you start to pick up a guitar? Was that the first instrument that you picked up?
No, I've been playing in like elementary school. I've been playing lots of different instruments. And
what was your first instrument?
I think the flute or something, or the
Thank God you gave that up. That would have been a lot. 7 foot tall football. Oh, we can run with those jokes for days.
Yeah, skin flutist. My stepdad used to play guitar. My mom would nag him every time company would come over. So pull out the guitar and play some songs. And he had
that's awesome.
10, 12 songs in his repertoire, and he'd always play them. And I had an older brother that was 5 years older that I didn't really like at the time. And it's funny. I actually asked for an electric guitar, I think 1 year for Christmas, and my mom screwed it. She made a mistake and she gave it to my brother.
Oh no.
And I was devastated, but he was really into it. And I was like, "Well, I'm gonna take the acoustic guitar." And I was like, "You're never gonna get a girl by playing her guitar solo. You gotta sing her a song."
You gotta sing her a song.
Yeah. So I just emulated what my stepdad Bud was doing and just learned how to play guitar that way. And then it just like I could just play. Like, I just figured it out really quickly.
Naturally.
Yeah. Just had an ear for it, and just that was what I did. I just sat in my bedroom and played my guitar.
What was your go-to song to wheel a girl with your acoustic guitar?
Oh, what era?
Just like the very first time you did it. Do you remember that you're like, "Oh, this song."
More than words, extreme.
I just have this song that I want to sing for you.
Oh, very sweet song.
And she's like, "Oh my God.
Oh my God, he's so sensitive. And he's tall and good looking."
And he said, "I love you."
Yeah.
I just like the tap of that part.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part. Next song, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Some Blue Rodeo.
Yeah,
I love it. Such a good song. Can you play the harmonica? Yeah?
Yeah. It's not that hard of an instrument to
No.
blow.
Just
blowing stuff.
I can play that instrument. I'm pretty good at that one, actually. So why do you love that song?
Awkward. Yeah, like it's coming into, I can't remember when that album came out, I think 96, 97 maybe. But I just sort of started playing in bars and or just playing music and getting some gigs and stuff, my first sort of gigs. And I was obsessed. There's very few bands I got obsessed about. I liked a lot of music. I liked a lot of different genres, but I didn't like obsess about any bands. And I was kind of upset about it because some of my friends were like, oh, Zeppelin. And I was like, well, they're good, but they're not that fucking good. Like,
yeah.
And I was obsessed with the Indigo Girls because of their harmonies, because they just sang these incredible harmonies. And so I listened to their records nonstop and I obsessed over them. And then I heard Blue Rodeo and I was like, they're the male
version.
Indigo Girls.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't play the same style of music necessarily, but they these harmonies, they have the guy, you know, Greg Keeler, who's got this raspy kind of shitty voice. You know, it's not as like polished, and then you got Jim Cuddy with this like crystal clear, perfect tenor voice. And the mix of those two was just perfect. And it was the same in the Indigo Girls, you know, with the partnership they had. So I just gravitated towards them. I remember going to see them at the Jackson Concert Hall when Casino came out. And I remember they played Diamond Mine, and they had disco ball. They had a disco ball going, and that was the only thing going. And I was just like, whoa, these guys are so cool. And they're Canadian, and I was obsessed. And then when 5 Days in May or 5 Days in July, the album came out, that was just like, there wasn't a bad song on it. You know, they had Sarah McLachlan and Alanis. I think Alanis. No, it was Sarah McLachlan singing on it. So that whole album, I learned every single song. I could play every single song off that record, kind of thing. So,
what do you love about most with playing? Like, what keeps you playing still?
There's literally nothing I know how to do that gives me the feeling that it gives me. Like, it's on my most introverted, you know, depressed day, it can pull me out of that. And on my highest day, it can kind of like
mellow you out,
chill me out. And it's just, I don't know, there's just a level of awareness that you just got to show up. You got to show up to perform. If you're not showing up, it doesn't ever sound good. So I just like it. Just, you know, we talk about this in WFG all the time, right? Like, you have to build that internal self-confidence by your relationship with your word. And I created early on this word, or this desire to like never perform shitty, like to always give 100% of wherever I was at. So
get yourself in that state no matter what.
Yeah. So I feel like even if I had a bad voice, or, you know, a raspy voice, or I have a pretty raspy voice right now after played 3 shows this weekend. So yeah, I just love performing, and I love that energy, reciprocal energy that happens when you're performing well.
When
so
you're
always chasing that kind of feeling. Yeah.
When you were first starting out, and obviously where you are today, did you really enjoy performing in front of people that didn't really know who you were? Did you like that feeling?
No, I was pretty insecure. Like, when you're growing up 7 feet tall and you're different than everybody, so you got this dialogue that you're different.
Mm-hmm.
So there was an element of like being different in a room just by myself was so socially awkward, and I was socially awkward. Second, you get a guitar in my hand, it's like this bubble, this barrier. I got my microphone, I got my guitar, and it's like my little space that's separate from you, so I don't have to deal with your bullshit. you know? And so it wasn't so much that I liked performing for those people. It was more like I can't wait to fucking show you what I'm actually capable of.
Yeah.
because you're judging me right now
Yeah.
based on what you see. And you have no fucking idea how different I am than what you
Yeah.
think I am, kind of thing. So that was a big motivator for me, especially early on. Now, actually, that's not true. I just had a show this weekend where I showed up thinking I was going to be background music, and they were all just sat there and listened. And I was like, oh, okay, you're going to listen? I'm going to blow your socks off tonight.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so.
That's great. Right. Speaking of the Indigo Girls. Closer to Fire. So you talked a little bit about why you love them. Is there a reason why you love that song in particular, or
That was the first song I'd ever heard of them.
Oh, okay.
I remember just hearing that song. A friend had a cassette tape playlist. She used to make mixtapes for each other, and she put that on my mixtape, and I was like, who is this? And again, it was just that harmony thing. I love the sound of harmony, and I thought it wasn't prevalent enough in a lot of the music I was listening to, and nobody I was listening to was doing that. So
Yeah.
they were totally unique.
I miss mixtapes.
I miss it too.
I wish I could go back in time and get all my mixtapes.
Oh.
I couldn't even imagine what would be on there.
I have my brother lived with a guy named Dennis Scanlon, who actually owns Sunnyside Cidery. I don't know if I'm throwing a little plug out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Go get Sunnyside cider. But he was my brother's roommate, and he worked at A&B Sound.
Oh, no way. I'm
back in Montreal. And so he had this massive CD collection, and they had this really nice stereo. So I used to go over to my brother's house every night, and just like they'd be having a party or something. I'm sitting there like queuing up the tape decks, making up mixtapes from all the CDs that he had.
And I miss those days.
With that, yeah.
Did you ever make them remember making them from the radio?
Oh yeah.
Right. You're just waiting like,
Waiting
oh
to
fuck,
time it,
why
yeah.
is this guy speaking right now?
Yeah.
I wanted the beginning of the song.
I made one for this girl in high school, and she was a Stampede queen, and I made one for her, and I what song was Everything I Do It For You. And
some Bryan Adams.
So I recorded it from the radio, and then I had this Magnavox recorder, and I had it on my piano, and I don't really play piano, my mom does, and I was like, I just sat there, push play. I just kept learning note by note. I taught myself how to play that song on the piano from recording it off the radio. So
that's impressive.
Yeah, I could just do that kind of stuff. I mean, I couldn't do math, but I could play music. You give me an instrument, I can
learn how to play it. That's super impressive. I love that. All right, Jack Johnson. Do you love acoustic? I feel like a lot of your music is a lot of acoustic rhythm to it.
Yeah, I again, it just goes back to hating my brother.
Are you just you and your brother? 2 children? Grew up with a brother, that's it?
Yeah, just a brother. He's 5 years older, and he's not as competitive as I am. I'll just leave it at that. And I was really competitive. I wanted to kick his ass all the time.
Were you bigger than him?
Eventually I got bigger than him. I am bigger than, he's 6'4", 6'5".
So he's how tall is your father?
My natural father was 6'7", 6'8". So.
And what's your nationality?
Swedish mainly, Swedish English. Yeah. I have 3 out of the 4 grandparents were Swedish. And one was English.
How tall is your mom? Is she tall too?
No, she's like 5'5", 5'6". Yeah.
It's crazy, eh?
Yeah.
I know my dad was 6'2". My mom was 5 feet.
Yeah.
And I'm 5'3". I just want a couple more inches.
I'm 7 feet, so you can have a couple of mine. Yeah.
So how many groupies did you have kind of growing up when you first started?
I didn't. I was like the.
You're the shy musician?
No, I was just trying so hard to play good music. I was well, that's not true. I just wanted to do it. So yeah. I did it, and I wasn't fully aware of what was happening. And I remember in the 90s when I was playing in a trio called Cherche. It was a really weird name, but it was an awesome. It was with my buddy Josef Fulich and Jeff Anderson, and we used to play all the pubs and stuff like that. And Jeff's this really good-looking dude.
Yeah,
he had this beautiful high voice, and Josef's this tall Croatian guy.
Wow, skinny, dark.
Yeah, skinny, dark features kind of thing, and blue eyes, and
wow,
like just all. So it was funny because I bought the PA, I booked the gigs, I did all the business. I was in it to build a business.
You're like Tyler,
my
producer.
Yeah, he's doing a good job back there. I like it. But at the end, the funny thing was at the end of every show, Jeff would have like a lineup of girls waiting to talk to him. Like, oh my God, Jeff. And Josef would have like some really nice, oh my God, Josef. He was married at the time. And then I had like 3 moms that were just like
with their kids.
No, they're like, you really remind me of my son. He's tall too, he's 6'2". Oh, okay, great. Where are the hot girls for me? I wasn't a babe magnet in those days. So
oh my God, that's hilarious.
I don't think I ever struggled. My whole I said this to my wife. I was like, I actually went and introduced myself to my now wife when I first met her. I walked across a bar. She came to one of my shows and I said, hi, what's your name? That never happened for me. My whole game plan was just go be tall and stand somewhere where people can see you, and eventually people will come talk to you.
Yeah.
And then you get the negative energy that you're trying to learn how to deflect away all the time. So all I would do is go be tall somewhere. Maybe they don't come talk to me, but then I go on stage and play guitar, and they're like, oh, the tall guy's on stage. And then they come talk to me.
And they want to talk to you.
Yeah. So that was my whole game plan.
So what's the worst thing that, like, when obviously you are tall and it gets brought up all the time, what do you hate most about that? Do you hate that people ask you how tall you are? Is there like a question like, really, you're so creative, thanks for asking me that?
Yeah, my big thing is like respect. It's like,
you get a lot of guys wanting to try to fight you?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, just ego peacocking and wanting to chop down the big tree kind of thing. No, it's just disrespect in the form of like people just demanding, because being tall has a positive connotation to it versus someone that's fat. You don't walk up to someone fat and go, holy, how fat are you? Or holy, how short are you? Maybe short you might.
Yeah.
But usually the more negative characteristics, people don't blurt it out of their mouth.
Yeah.
Whereas being tall, it's a beautiful thing to be tall. So they think, oh, this gives me license to just say whatever I want.
Yeah.
And just ask whatever question I want. So I think one of the things that I got really upset about it a lot in my 20s. And I think over the years, I've just developed
thicker skin for it.
Thicker skin and just enjoyment out of kind of fucking with people a little bit. Like,
so what are some questions that they ask you? Like, what do they say to you?
Dude, I'll tell you. I'm like, oh, I don't even know you. Like, you're asking pretty personal questions about my, sorry, do you have a name? He's like, yeah. I'm like, what is it? It's Chris. Oh, okay. Nice to meet you, Chris. Sit and wait. And they'll be like, so how tall are you? I was like, you still don't know my name. We're not acquaintances yet. How can you ask me personal information? So I kind of like just like that awkward confrontation. I kind of like it.
And then they're like, can we go outside and fight?
Sometimes, yeah, I got to be careful with it. Sometimes I get myself into trouble. But yeah, like when you were walking with your friend when you were a kid down the street and a big bush came up and you had that friend that like pushed you in the bush. Yeah, that was me. I had that. It's called the asshole gene, I think. Like, so when people like give me grief about my height, I just like kind of being a bit of an asshole sometimes because it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
But then it doesn't, because it makes me feel isolated. So I think in my old age, I'm learning to just like embrace it that people just want to connect.
Yeah. And that's how, and they're really bad at it.
They're bad at it. Yeah.
So that's the only way that they can do it.
Grace.
Yeah.
That they blurted out something that was dumb and just answered their questions.
Like I get it, like you're super hot in it. Like, yeah, I don't get like, hi, how are you? It's like, holy shit.
I know.
You're the hottest chick I've ever seen.
Totally.
I'm like,
yeah,
I don't even know your name.
Awkward.
Weird.
Yeah.
Makes me feel
hey, I feel like a piece of meat here.
I need to call my producer.
Yeah.
All right. Great song. It's a slow beginning. Let's speed it up a little bit.
Right here,
Okay, some Counting Crows. That's a great song.
Yeah, there's a band. I used to go to the Republic. I used to sneak into the Republic when I was 16, 17 because
There's a lot of shit that goes in that bar.
Yeah, I was 7 feet tall back in those days,
so they didn't ID you.
They didn't ID me. So, but all the bands that were going through there were unreal. But there's this like local band, you guys called Pop Lydia. For any Calgary music junkies out there, if you remember the band Pop Lydia, I'll give you $5 if you send me a message. It was my buddy Craig McCall. He's an incredible guitar player. But they played this, it was right when Counting Crows came out, and they played this song at the Republic as a cover tune. And I was like, who is this band? And I remember going that night and looking it up. And now this is like right in the heat of like Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, like the grunge era is in full effect. And then this band comes out and is playing like singer-songwriter, kind of pop singer-songwriter stuff. I'm like, there's nobody doing what these guys are doing right now.
Yeah.
That's his effect of this. And Mr. Jones was the hit that came out, and it was pretty cool, but it was that whole la 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 part just got obnoxious for me.
That's so do you know, I have to interrupt you because do you know who Ryan Jeffries is for McMurray? Just if anybody knows who Ryan Jeffries is. So speaking of Mr. Jones, Ryan actually lost his virginity to that song.
Oh, nice.
And that I asked him, did he last longer than that sha la 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 part? And he didn't. So, but I guess he's way better now. But
yeah, that's good.
You know,
well, I'll have to call him and congratulate him on that.
I'm proud of him.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's doing better.
I don't remember this.
I'm going to say that you brought it up though, because you brought up Mr. Jones. It triggered a memory. That's how music works.
All interconnected.
So do you have a guitar by your bed? Do you have a music room? Do you play a lot for your wife? Does she ask you to play a lot?
No, she comes to a lot of my shows though.
Okay.
Like she just came to my show. I had a show yesterday and she brought Leonard to it, and I have a video of Leonard dancing, more like break dancing with his ass in the air while I was playing a really mellow song. It was really kind of cool. No, she comes to a lot of shows. I have guitars downstairs in my office, sort of where I would practice and rehearse, and I don't have anything by the bed. I should have some, but my wife probably wouldn't like me having anything by the bed. But I haven't done a lot of like writing in the last, I'd say, year or so. Laundry's done. I would like to do more, but you know, building a business.
For sure.
And music has definitely become more part-time. It was no time through COVID. So this summer has been awesome just to have shows again, to play in a different perspective, like to like
fall in love in it.
Oh, there's just more gratitude this year. More. I was resenting performing for the last few years, just like my song list felt like it was like retracting because I was forgetting songs and I wasn't adding new songs. I wasn't learning new songs or writing new songs. And I was just sick and tired of like, I had a show where I would introduce every song with a certain story. And there are all these like, it's almost like being a stand-up comedian. You gotta plan the story that you're gonna tell to set up the story or set up the song. And it's got some humor to it, kind of thing. And then it just dawned on me this last year that I'm like, I keep telling stories from 2005, from this shitty thing that happened in 2005. No wonder I'm having a hard time moving forward with my life, because every time I get up on stage, I'm regurgitating this bullshit story. So I have musicians like the Counting Crows, they refuse to play Mr. Jones, or some of their hits.
Because of Ryan Jeffries.
Well, yeah, because fucking Ryan Jeffries, you know, getting off for the first time. So I don't want to relive that shit.
Sure, Ryan doesn't either.
Well,
Ryan, we love
you. Relive it.
Jesus. All right. So I love how you asked for Simon and Garfunkel to do this song, because obviously so many people have read this song. Yeah, such a powerful song. Why do you love that song? What does it mean?
my parents had this gross shit brown ottoman with like vinyl ottoman, but it had all the records in it. And I remember like it being one of the first records I put on the record player to play, and it was Live at Central Park.
I had that shit brown.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did. Like it was a very popular.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was at Woolco or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, I just remember listening to that, and I just remember that song just being like these guys are legit. Like Bridge Over Troubled Water. It's like, yeah. But there's something about this song that was like kind of freaked me out. It was a little haunting.
Yeah.
You know.
It definitely
and there's multiple versions. There's a version that has like a full drum kit. It's live, and it's got these Uilleann pipes in the background, and it's the most incredible version of that song. So I was like, here's a cool song that this guy obviously wrote on an acoustic guitar, and he can play it solo acoustic, but then he can also play it in a duo with harmony, and he can also play it with a full band, and it rocks. So I'm like, oh, you know, here's somebody that can play his song, and it crosses different genres depending on the instrumentation that's used.
Yeah, it's such a great song. Yeah. What makes you laugh the most? Because you have a great sense of humor.
Kind of depraved humor. Like something a little bit despicable and a little bit offside. Yeah.
That's the best kind of humor, though.
Yeah.
I can't handle dry humor. I don't really understand it.
Yeah, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus on this podcast, but I have some friends that are like just
pretty dry,
just really good with the dad jokes, and I'm just like, just.
Tyler's got like this girl sent him like, I don't know, probably 100 dad jokes one night. So we don't get into them a lot, but sometimes Tyler will throw a dad joke out every now and then. Then we have to reel him in and be like, dude, you're funny with other dad jokes. Right. Operator.
Oh, this was like learning how to finger pick and learning how to.
This song helped you how to do that?
Yeah, Jim Croce, like that. I remember this one. There's another song called New York's Not My Home. Another one, Time in a Bottle. Like there's another record that my parents had that I listened to, that immediately I was like, that acoustic guitar sounds so good, and all the finger picking. So I was like trying to emulate that when I was, all these songs are like songs that I tried to emulate how I was playing guitar to sound like that. So Jim Croce, and he just had this killer voice and wrote these monster songs. And yeah, he's so, like some of the music your parents listen to, you listen to because you're in a car ride.
Yeah.
And you're like, this fucking sucks. Like, Dad.
You want to kill yourself.
Oh, yeah. Like, give me a break. I have to listen to fucking Jeff Healey again. And then I ended up loving Jeff Healey.
Yeah.
But like,
you're like, wow, he's quite amazing guitar player.
Same with Stan Rogers. I hated Stan Rogers because I worked in my dad's shop and, you know, worked with him on construction sites and stuff like that. And he had this mixtape and he didn't understand how they work. So he just like put the same 3 songs back to back to back to back on the mixtape. I'm like, dude, you can put more than 3 songs. Oh, so I hated Stan Rogers and then discovered him later. But Jim Croce was one of those that I was like, immediately when I heard it, I was like, no, this is awesome. Loved it, and always loved it, and never was embarrassed to say that I love Jim Croce. And now it's cool to say you love Jim Croce because he's cool again, you know, when he wasn't for a while.
Yeah, that's a great story. How is it growing up in your household? Obviously, mom.
That's a loaded question.
Divorce, right?
Yeah, mom, my father left when I was 6. Stepfather moved in when I was 7. Neither of those men had a lot of, I would say, you know, my stepfather moved into a pretty difficult situation with a 7-year-old and a 12-year-old. And yeah, it was, you know, my brother was the more like reserved, you know, what's the word? Just he was a little bit more timid.
Yeah, because you were super competitive.
Yeah, and so I was the
aggressor,
smart mouth, like smart aleck, always like, you know, punch him in the face, break his glasses, and then run upstairs from Mom, Greg hit me. You know, like I was a little dickhead.
Yeah.
Growing up.
Do you still do that to your brother?
No, he just came out to visit me in Penticton.
I seen those pictures.
It was fun to hang out with him for a couple of days because I was like, oh yeah, like we played cards one night. And he's like, just so you know, not competitive. I'm like, oh, fuck, I just can't wait to kick your ass.
So you guys fought lots?
We fought lots. Like, we developed a good friendship in my 20s. Like,
Yeah.
You know, when you're 5 years apart growing up, you don't have
That's
a
a
lot
big
in common.
difference.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's a ton of love and respect now. Yeah.
Did you play sports growing up?
Mm-hmm.
What'd you play? Tennis? Were you a big tennis player?
I love tennis, actually.
Badminton? You're probably really good at
badminton.
Yeah, volleyball.
I played volleyball. I was okay at volleyball just by default because
just put a hand up.
Yeah, but I couldn't like hit the ball down because I was just like looking up and I would just hit it up.
I'm sure that front row would not want you to spike it down either.
Yeah, I broke my foot in grade 10 volleyball, so that kind of killed my volleyball career.
I won't bring volleyball up again.
But basketball, I played basketball.
Okay.
And played at Mount. I got recruited to play at Mount Royal out of high school.
No way.
A bunch of teams across Western Canada recruited me, and then played at Mount Royal for 93 to 96, and then took a bunch of years off, and then went back and played at UC from 2000 to 2002, and then from 2003 till about 2011 I was assistant coach at SAIT for the men's basketball program there. So
wow,
basketball's been a big part. It was a dream of mine to be a pro basketball player, and you know, I've had 4 knee surgeries, so that killed that dream. And
yeah. So it's something you thought about a lot, something that you thought that was potentially going to happen. A lot of people kind of helping you fuel that dream as you were growing up in that world.
Yeah, it was like when you're 7 feet tall as a kid, obviously you have outside pressure. People think that, you know,
you should be
you have all the
perform.
tools to be able to perform at this level. And the good thing is that I actually had a healthy love of basketball. I wasn't just playing basketball because I liked it. I was very competitive. I just didn't fully understand the discipline required for taking care of your body. And I was so skinny. Like, I was same height, but I was like 180 pounds coming out of high school. Now I'm 380. So there's, you know, half the person going through growth spurts and just trying to develop muscle and trying to develop the strength. So I had a lot of injuries, right? So I think that chipped away at my confidence a bunch, and it was hard to like transition from being in the basketball world to being in the music world, because they just
so different.
They don't understand each other at all. They both look at each other.
The guys are like, seriously, dude.
Well, in high school,
you don't play basketball, be tall, and you play guitar. This is
well, in
you got to leave some chicks for me.
Yeah. In high school, there was 3 distinct groups. There was the dumb jocks, the band geeks, and the drama nerds. And the drama nerds had their own hallway, the band geeks had their own hallway, and the dumb jocks had their own hallway. And I was friends with everybody in between, and they all made fun of me for hanging out and being a part of the other groups, like differently, you know. So yeah, like I was really insecure to go play music and perform music when I was still
playing basketball.
And then I stopped playing basketball, and I just got over it because I started making a living and doing really well, performing at lots of bars in the city and developing a little bit of niche for myself to, you know, one of the more sought after players in the city to go play these shows. So I got some confidence from that. And then I got into the music world, and I started really doing that. And I just kind of had other things I wanted to do. I wanted to have a family. I wanted to not be broke all the time. I wanted to, like, you know, live a life that none of my musician friends were living. And so I was like, oh, I want to get into business, and I want to like take that avenue kind of thing. So one always sort of led to the other kind of thing. And it's been interesting to see how that's evolved. And now music is just, I just don't give a fuck.
And that's probably the best way to have it, right? All right. So Babylon, David Gray. Why do you love that song? Has a cute little beat.
Yeah, that was it. That was the thing. That was the thing that I can't believe it's taken this long in the questioning for me to like bring this up. But obviously, being 7 feet tall, I never did what anybody like. I was always different, and I created the mindset that I was different than everybody else. So I never liked music that all my friends liked. I always liked different music. I always wanted like everyone was going backwards, going, "Oh, I want to listen to like Led Zeppelin or the Doors or the Beatles," because it's when I was like, "Fuck those guys." Everybody listens to them. Everybody loves them. So I like avoided that kind of music in spite. I had a lot of decisions I made in my like teens and 20s were just decisions purely made out of spite of what other people told me to do or thought that I should think or like. So I started just liking music that was just kind of different. And David Gray was different. He was taking acoustic music and adding this electronic beat, and it wasn't even electronic. He had a real drummer, but it just had this sound. It had this different sound where you could have it like in this song.
Yeah, it's really cool.
There's a heavy bottom end, like sub frequency bass note that gets hit. And if you're listening to it in a big speaker, it's like, oh, it hits you in the heart. And I was like, oh, that bottom end. And this when I started to really fall in love with music that had that heavy bottom end to it. And then his voice is just so freaking ridiculously good. And I could sing it. So I started listening to, this isn't a sexist comment, but I just stopped listening to female performers because I couldn't relate, because I couldn't
do their voice.
So I just purely started listening to like Jack Johnson, Jim Cuddy, Blue Rodeo, Dave Matthews, John Mayer, David Gray, because I could emulate what they were doing with my voice, or what they were doing with their voice with mine. And I could take that song, which was a popular song, and I could play it at Kaylee's on a Friday or Saturday night and get people dancing on a dance floor, just me and an acoustic guitar. If I turned the bottom end of my guitar up and I created enough of a backbeat with my hand pumping on the guitar, and I could get this sort of like rhythm going.
Yeah, that's my favorite. I love that. I always, when Tyler plays guitar, I always want him to do that.
Yeah,
it's my favorite part.
Yeah,
I love that. You love that. Okay, this is one of my favorite songs. I haven't heard it forever. I forgot how much I loved it. Right? I just love this song. I haven't heard it forever, and since it's been on your playlist, I've probably listened to it 25 times.
Nice. Awesome.
I just forgot about it. If you know so much music, and I know you do, this is the best experience for me, because I'm like, oh God, I forgot about that song. And I don't know. And again, I wouldn't even know why I love that song. I just love it. I hear it. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And it's like the fastest minute-and-a-half song on the planet. And it can just like floor you.
Yeah. Some of my first vinyl that I ever bought, I remember the first record I ever bought myself with my own money was Bryan Adams' Reckless.
Nice.
Because it had Summer '69 on it. And the next album that I bought was Born in the USA, Bruce Springsteen. So I listened to that record not knowing Bruce Springsteen. It was just a popular record. I was like, well, if it's popular, I should probably have it. And then I started kind of doing a little bit of a deeper dive into some of his other music. And I was like, oh, this guy's an incredible songwriter. He's got this terrible underbite, and he sings really nasally. And I was like, oh, he's just like, he's so different. He was just different and badass when he did it. And he wasn't like, sugar pop with sprinkles on top. He had some grit to him. And I was like, this guy's the real deal. So that song is funny. This summer, I've kind of, all the shows I've been playing, I've kind of like adopted this way of creating my set list every day, because generally I'm playing a lot of like wineries or private events where there's a lot of older people, like in their, I don't gotta be careful saying older, because I'm now older. Look at the gray hair. And but in the sort of like 40 to 60 range.
Yeah.
And so they would listen to this song, and relate to all the songs, right? So I started playing my first set where I would play, these are the songs that my stepdad taught me how to play on the guitar when I was learning how to play the guitar when I was 8, 9 years old. So this is one of the first songs I ever learned on the guitar.
Wow.
And it was like learning how to play like, I don't play it anything like this. I play a totally different version of it, but I adapt. It's sort of like how I learned to take a song, probably play some of the chords wrong or some of the voicings wrong in it, but I could play it and make it my version. And then that became what I was known for, is that Brent doesn't ever play a song exactly like the original. He always plays like his own version. And some people hated that. They wanted to hear the real version, right? But this was a massively influential song just because of the range of the voice that he used, the sort of the beat of it, and just that my dad used to play it when company would come over. So
I love it.
yeah.
So I want to change gears and ask, you're married.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been married for?
4 years, May 21st.
Okay. So how long have you guys been together?
7 years.
7 years. Yeah. So you started dating.
Mm-hmm.
You walked over to her in a bar, said hello.
She was her first ever live music show she'd ever
No
been to.
way.
And her girlfriend drug her out because she was going through a rough patch with her husband at the time. They were still together. And the girl that brought her out was somebody that, unbeknownst to her, so one of our friends had tried to set us up on a date.
Oh.
And nothing came of it. And she walked in and I was like, oh, I know her. And then buxom redhead walked in. I was like, I remember I was tuning my guitar. I was on stage. I was doing a sound check. And she walked in. I was like, who is that? I got to go talk to her. Just saw her immediately. And so I played my first set and I was like, the whole first set trying to like summon the energy to go talk to her, the courage. And I figured, well, I know who she's with. So that's the in that I have to just go say hi. So I walked around the table, said hi to all the people that came to my show. And I said, hi, what do you do? And she goes, I'm a chiropractor. And I go, oh, I don't believe in chiropractic. Super.
You did good there. Sealed the deal with that one.
And she's like, oh, it's a good thing it's not a religion. It's something you have to believe in. I was like, oh, that's good. Come back. So anyways, long story short, I tried to ask her out and she did not. She turned me down. I was like, oh, I'll just go on stage and fuck myself and play some more songs here. And
good old Pearl Jam. Jeremy.
What was her name? There was a girl and she worked at Grabba Jabba on 17th Avenue, the one that had the rooftop patio.
Yep. And
I met her somewhere. Can't remember. And I was just like infatuated with this girl. And I didn't know grunge music at all. Like I didn't. But anyways, she invited me over to her house. I remember riding my bike over to her house like we were 14. I was like in my
36.
Yeah, no, it wasn't quite that long. But I remember I got invited in and we went into her bedroom and she's like, have you heard the Smashing Pumpkins? And I was like, oh, that sounds like a weird name for a band. So like, you Smash Pumpkins? No, that's the name of the band. And it was Gish that came out. It was right before the commercial album came out. And she put that on and I was like, oh, this is different. This is pretty heavy. And she put some Soundgarden on. And I was like, whoa, this is heavy. And then she put some Pearl Jam on. I was like, whoa, who is this? And I just immediately sang that, like he's got that really throaty. I was like, oh, I relate to how he sang. And so I remember back in the day when Columbia House scam was going on.
I used to buy lots of this.
Give
them a penny or whatever it was.
Yeah, you give them a penny and
with a different address.
I wrote all my friends' addresses and I made like
you're gonna get a shipment.
Yeah, I got like 50 CDs for like 17 cents. And so I immediately ordered Smashing Pumpkins and Pearl Jam. And I just remember that song, Jeremy, just the video for it was kind of creepy. And
yeah, it was really creepy.
Whole Jeremy spoke in class today. I was like, what did he say? Like, oh, Jeremy spoke, like, right after the Columbine thing. And
it's a lot.
It was heavy. But it was just, again, incredible songwriting. I always gravitated to like good songwriting. I love the music, but I always paid attention to the words.
Yeah.
And I'd hear the music first, and then I go to the words. And I just remember sitting in my parents' living room, and I had this album 10 cranked, and reading the lyrics, and I was just like, this is the best band I've ever heard in my life.
It's a great album too.
Yeah.
So what I miss about our like growing up in that era is every album, I don't know what it was. It was just, there was like really rare, maybe one song on 13 songs that you didn't like.
Yeah.
Now it's like, no wonder why you buy a song, because it's like,
yeah, it's not even
yeah,
there's no congruency
like,
to how
yeah,
they build them.
So do you have any pet peeves?
Oh, I have fucking loads of pet peeves.
Let's start with 2.
There's a special place in hell for fucking assholes that drive 10 kilometers under the speed limit, and the second a double lane opens up, they speed up 20 over.
I love those guys.
Just hardcore. I've never wanted to road. I just drove from Penticton today, so that may or may not have happened.
Anything else? Sets you off?
Sets me off.
Besides a blowjob, obviously, but
Yeah.
road rage.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a road rager.
Are you?
It's
like,
been weird being in Calgary today. Like,
yeah, because you just get on the Deerfoot. And you
well,
just
the whole
want
city's under construction.
Yeah, I know.
Like I was driving
I know.
on McLeod and 22X. Like all of a sudden I stopped. I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to be on the road here, because all the pylons had fallen down in the wind, and I was like, am I in the right place here? What the fuck? So yeah, it was different going to a city of 34,000 people.
Yeah, just a little bit.
And all the old lady drivers in the first week, you're just like, oh, come on, let's go. And nobody's in a hurry in Penticton. But now I'm like that guy. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm not in a hurry.
And then when we go to Penticton, we're like, holy fuck, how long does it take to buy a piece of beef jerky? You think you can fucking speed this up there? Why are we talking about your kids? Let's fucking go.
Yeah, everybody's a local.
Yeah.
Not in a hurry.
Not in a hurry. Right. This isn't your song. 7 Spanish Angels.
Oh, right.
You look shocked there.
This isn't, I've never listened to this version.
Oh, you haven't? Oh, it's a great version. Willie Nelson.
Well, this is
Some Ray.
My mom would get a few drinks in there. Well, because it's a Willie and Ray song.
Yeah.
And Bud used to play this song, my stepdad. And my mom was like, play 7 Spanish Angels again. Play it again. And like Bud would play it, and then like 5 minutes later, play that 7 Spanish Angels song again. So Bud would literally have to sing the song like 7 or 8 times in a night. And yeah, I just knew his version of it. So I learned it from my stepdad.
Yeah.
And then when YouTube came out, there was a YouTube video of them playing it live.
Oh, wow.
Willie and they're sitting at the piano together.
Wow.
Mind-blowing version of it. I was like, oh, this is the bad.
I have to check that out.
Yeah, YouTube 7 Spanish Angels. It'll be the first one that comes up.
No way. No way. So when you were obviously growing up and for where you are now, do you want to tell me like what's the worst pain you've ever been in? Doesn't have to be, it could be physical. You said you broke your foot. Was that painful?
Oh no. The
worst pain you've ever been in.
Worst pain. So this is the Remembering Broadway off my record, the Remembering Broadway story. For anybody that's seen the live show, they'll know what that story is. But basically, I played basketball at university. I'll tell you the story.
Yeah.
Played basketball at University of Calgary, and I started dating a girl that was on the women's team. And she finished her degree, and I kind of finished playing basketball because of knee surgeries. And she was going to do her master's in physiotherapy out at University of British Columbia. She had to go there or Edmonton. I was like, well, I'm not following you to Edmonton. So she went out to Vancouver. She always wanted to go out to Vancouver. So I thought, great, I'll just dive into my music career, and I'll move to a bigger center where I can really focus on getting seen and getting, mobilizing my music career. And long story short, she gets connected with a certain crowd, a yoga crowd of, the Bikram yoga people that are just about boning each other on different nights kind of thing. And that's maybe like a really crass generalization about that group of people. There's a lot of really nice people in that. But yeah, we just spent a lot of time. I lived out there for 2 years, and I was playing music, had a regular gig every Wednesday night. I was working at Long McQuaid and developed this friendship with this guy, Pete. And we were working together and playing a lot of shows, duo shows together. And he was an incredible guitar player. And long story short, I decided, we kind of gone through a rough patch, Laura and I, where she cheated on me. And I thought, well, this is done. We've been together for so long. So I'm burping up tacos, just if you want to smell that later. Mixing with the apple.
We'll do a scratch and sniff version.
But anyways, we made it through that sort of period where she cheated on me. And it was, when you're trying to rekindle the beginning 3 months of your relationship, and it's really hard to do that. I felt like we did it like 3 years into the relationship. I was like, well, that means that this is the girl I'm supposed to marry.
Yeah, meant to be.
So I started picking up these shows. I was playing, they opened the second Kaylee's here in Calgary, and I started playing a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then a Thursday, Friday, Saturday at the new Kaylee's. And then I'd pick up like a Tuesday, Wednesday show. So I'd come out for 10 days and I'd make like $3-4 grand. And I was telling her I was making $2 grand, and I was stashing $500 to $1,000 in a Van City account. And I was saving up to buy her a ring. And I had a ring picked out. I had booked the West Coast Trail because you had to book it a year in advance. And I was going to propose to her on a West Coast Trail trip. And I remember it was March, and I came home from a 10-day stint, and we had always said one of the things that helped us recover from that cheating thing was we have to have a date night. So I always came home on the day before the day of date night, because that was, it was really, really important that we're there. And she said no. She pulled the plug. She wanted to go to yoga that night. I said, you're not allowed to go to yoga. It's our date night. And she's like, I don't want to be in a relationship. So I was devastated. I moved in with my best friend, Pete. He lived just down the street on Broadway there in Kitts, and lived with him for about a month. And he was like, we went out and we drank whiskey and we made a lot of questionable decisions. We slept with a bunch of questionable women, things that everybody
yeah.
Hey man, let's just forget about her. But I was devastated. It was not helping. So I remember coming back the next month. I did my 10-day stint, and I came back, and we had a show that night, and I was so jacked to play with him. I was like, dude, I can't wait to play the show tonight. Anyways, I remember him coming home, and he says, yeah, Laura and I have been sleeping together the whole time. That's what actually precipitated the breakup. So I packed a U-Haul and moved back into my parents' house at 29 years old, and felt like a pretty big piece of shit. But the funny thing is that they ended up getting married. He knew about my West Coast Trail plans. So obviously I called to cancel it. He had put his name on that week. He proposed to her on the West Coast Trail. They got married. They had 3 kids.
Brent, Tyler, and Brent.
They named their second kid Brent.
That's crazy.
I'm just kidding. That didn't happen. But
the middle name is.
Yeah, the rest of it's true. But you tell that story on stage, and you get a good laugh out of that. But yeah, so I've never experienced full
pain like that.
Yeah, and I couldn't go back to Vancouver for 4 or 5 years after without reliving it. Now I'm it's awesome.
Yeah.
But then I got a call from her about a year ago.
No.
Year and a half ago. Yeah. So yeah, I discovered your music, because half of that relationship I wrote about on my album In Rhythm, and she discovered it on Spotify. So she called me that she'd listened to it, and she was listening to some Martin Sexton, and turns out that her and Pete, they didn't make it.
Wonder fucking why.
Yeah. And I wasn't even like, I just remember the feeling of like the best feeling, and this sounds cheesy, but it's like the only way to get over it was to like forgive them and be like,
yeah,
you made 3 beautiful children because of that shitty experience I got to go through.
mm-hmm.
And if I hung on to that, I remember walking into Long McQuaid one day in Vancouver, like years later, and I had to get some strings as I was playing a show in Vancouver that night. And I get some strings, and I like literally bump into Pete because he's still working there. And I'm like, hey, he's like, hey, and we both had that like, are we gonna throw down, or like what's gonna happen here? And he just stuck out his hand. He's like, how's it going? And I was like, pretty good. How are you doing? I shook his hand. I was like, okay, I gotta go. And I walked away, and I walked into the car, and I was like, fuck, I just shook his hand. Motherfucker, I should have punched him in the face. What was I thinking?
But it's weird how you can react like that.
Yeah.
Right? It's good. This is your last song. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Take 4. 1, 2, 3.
Some Tom Petty. Find a friend.
That was probably the most musically influential time in my life. I moved out of my parents' house, and I moved in with a buddy of mine named Brent, who I'd done this crazy course down called Youth Challenge International. It was a non-governmental organization. I went down to Guyana, South America, lived in the jungle, and was helping them build a school. I was really just way more of a pain in the ass than I was actually a help, I'm sure of it. But yeah, I met this guy Brent down there, and he was living in a house full of musicians. And he said, a room opened up. Do you want to move in? I was like, yes, I want to get out of my parents' house. So it was my first house I moved in. I met Rob Vulich, who's the drummer on all my records and one of my dearest friends. I met a guy named Duncan McDonald, who fronted a band called Ruben Farrow, again, one of my dearest friends. Another guy named Jason Velo, who is the front man. He used to work for the National Music Center, and now he's been the front man of a band called the Polyjesters, one of, Carstairs, Calgary's greatest bands of all time. One of the craziest, most musical people I've ever met in my entire life. I met these 2 trumpet players that now have been trumpet players in the band of the Ceremonial Guard, and these incredible like top shelf musicians.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a TV, but we had one of those Sony 5-disc changers.
Yeah.
Remember those?
Yeah.
And so we would make dinner together, usually some pasta or something, burgers or something easy, and then we would smoke a joint, and everybody got to kind of like put on a record, and nobody was really allowed to talk. We were just eating our dinner after smoking this joint, and we would listen, and at the end of a song we could like push pause and like have our commentary whether you liked it or not. So Wildflowers, that record was one of the records that we listened to. But this is when I started listening to like, Stevie Wonder and Prince and like all the heavy duty stuff that I was kind of rejecting.
Yeah.
Beatles. That I was like, oh, this was the first time I like listened to it, and I got like educated on it. And then this guy, Jeff Prop, who's another incredible guitar player and played in the band with them. He shows up one day, and he was always kind of quirky, and I never knew how to read him. And he shows up today, it was 1995 or 96, and he shows up with this double live album, Dave Matthews Live at Red Rocks. And he puts this on, and we smoke this really big joint, and we're listening to this. And I just remember sitting there going, who's the guitar player? And they're like, Dave Matthews. I'm like, but who's singing? Dave Matthews. Like, there's 2 guys named Dave Matthews. Like, no, there's one dude named Dave Matthews. He's the guy singing and playing guitar. I'm like, no, that's too, there's no way you could sing and play guitar. Like, they're doing the opposite. There's no way that's one guy. He's like, no, dude, this is Dave Matthews. Like, who's, like, how many drummers do they got? 1 drummer. What? There's no way there's 1 drummer. There's like 4 drummers up there.
Yeah.
No, that's 1 drummer. And it was the moment that I like fell in love with Dave Matthews right in that moment. So that time frame, some of my favorite music that influenced me the most came out of that like 6-month period of listening to music. So Wildflowers, Tom Petty Wildflowers was the song that I just like, just had in my headphones. I cleaned the house. It was like put it on and clean the house kind of a record.
Yeah.
Whenever you're feeling a little bit shitty, you always put on Wildflowers because there's so many badass songs on it. It's good to be king,
Yeah.
And it just made you feel good. And that's what Dave Matthews became for me for the rest of my life. Was like, if I'm ever depressed, I just put on Dave Matthews and just instantly
Change your state.
Changes. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So 2 questions. I like to pull. I just started this little thing.
Okay.
You can pick a card, any card,
Mhm.
but you have to touch it and then pick it. And if the question isn't good enough, we might pick a different one. These might want to use past cards on these. Never know though. Please read out loud.
Yes.
You don't just get to say the answer. What's it say? Have you ever, what is that? Slept with a man?
Have you ever woke up with someone giving you oral?
The answer is yes.
Of course.
Oh, who hasn't?
It's the best thing. But like, you couldn't wake up. It couldn't be a better wake up than
It's the
that.
best way to wake up.
Yeah. Hopefully there's like the hint of like cinnamon and coconut in the air or something like that.
Chai tea
Yeah.
beside you.
Nice hot breeze coming in. Mexico or
So I
something.
want to give you some time to obviously plug, your albums,
Mhm.
who you are, where people can find you, and then I'll actually add all of that when I'm promoting your podcast as well. So
Okay.
if you want to talk a little bit about who you are and where people can find you.
Yeah. Obviously, the website is the hub these days. So just go to brenttyler.com, but make sure that you only use one T, BrentTyler.com. BrentTyler.com is an actor in LA. And we've actually become good pals because I get his emails and he gets my emails sometimes. So make sure you just go to Brent Tyler with 1T.com, and all the shows that I'm playing are all posted on there. You can get access to streaming services, Spotify, Apple Music, any streaming service that you use. You can find my music there. If you want to purchase the digital music, you can purchase it there. If you just want to give me money and leave a tip, you can do that. If you want to learn more about the music and stuff like that, you can contact me that way. I live in Penticton, spend most of my time performing in the Okanagan, and a little bit, outside of the Okanagan these days. I have a 3.5-year-old, so my touring has like minimized, and that's good with me. Like, I got tired of spending a lot of time on the road touring. So you can find all the music online. I don't know what else.
I think it's good.
That's
I appreciate. Thanks so
Yeah.
much for being on the show.
Yeah, my
It was
pleasure.
so much fun. So much fun. So make sure you like, and then you do like some
Yeah.
subscribing.
Yeah, you can go onto my website and you can sign up for the email list, or just go on my social media at Brent Tyler.
Yeah.
And just follow along there.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Awesome.